The first habit that makes older women unbothered is that they stop seeking approval, and this is one of the most powerful shifts a person can make in their life. Approval seeking is something we all do at some point, often without even realizing it. When we are younger, we tend to measure our worth by how others react to us, whether they smile at us, accept us, praise us, or validate our decisions. It becomes a kind of fuel that we depend on, but the problem is that it's never enough. The moment you get one piece of approval, you are already hungry for the next. Older women who have stepped away from that cycle have discovered something liberating. The only approval that really matters is the one you give yourself. When you stop asking permission to be who you are, you finally start living for real. There is something incredibly attractive about someone who knows who they are and does not need a constant round of applause to prove it. You see, when you are always chasing approval, you start bending yourself into shapes that aren't natural just to fit the mold of what others expect. You change your words, your style, your decisions, and even your goals just to keep people happy. But when you let that go, when you stop handing other people the pen to write your story, you regain your power. This is what older women have learned through experience. They have tried people-pleasing, they have tried proving themselves, and they know it leads to exhaustion and disappointment. So instead, they anchor themselves in their own values, their own worth, and their own truth. This habit does not mean they don't care about others or that they never listen to feedback. It means they weigh the value of that feedback against their own standards and decide for themselves what to take in and what to leave out. Imagine how much calmer life becomes when you stop trying to win everyone over, when you stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to feel good about your choices. That calm is what makes older women appear so steady and unbothered. They have built an inner compass that points them toward peace, not popularity. That compass is what keeps them walking with confidence, even if no one claps along the way. When you live for approval, your emotions ride on a roller coaster you don't control. A compliment lifts you up and a criticism tears you down. It's exhausting because your sense of worth is in someone else's hands. But when you let go of needing approval, you get off that ride. You step onto solid ground where people's opinions are just that, opinions, not commands. This doesn't mean you become arrogant. It means you learn to hold your ground. It means you learn that someone disliking you or misunderstanding you does not reduce your value in any way. That's why older women walk into a room and carry themselves with calm strength. They know who they are, and they don't need anyone else to tell them. Think about how freeing it is to make decisions without worrying about who will approve or disapprove. You can say no without guilt. You can say yes without hesitation. And you can stand by your choices even if they are not popular. This freedom makes you more authentic, and authenticity naturally commands respect. People may not always agree with you, but they will feel your steadiness. They will see that you are not bending to win their favor. That's the kind of presence that makes someone unbothered by outside noise. And it's not because they shut the world out, but because they've learned to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. The journey to this place usually takes time because letting go of approval means letting go of habits built over a lifetime. Many older women will tell you that they wasted years trying to live up to everyone else's expectations, only to find that the people they were trying to impress were not thinking about them at all. That realization is often the turning point. They begin to see that constantly chasing approval is like chasing shadows. You can't ever hold it in your hand. But the moment you stop chasing, you notice the sunlight that was shining on you all along. That's when self-acceptance takes root, and with it comes the calm confidence of being truly unbothered. And this habit is not just about inner peace, it's also about relationships. When you stop seeking approval, you relate to people differently. You stop showing up with hidden agendas. You stop bending yourself to keep others happy, and instead you start showing up as your real self. That creates stronger, healthier connections because people know you're not pretending. And even if some people don't like the real you, that's fine because you've learned you don't need everyone to like you. This is what gives older women that aura of strength. They don't chase, they don't beg, they don't shrink. They simply live in a way that honors who they are, and that is what makes them unbothered by everyone around them. The second habit that makes older women unbothered is that they set clear boundaries, and this is one of the strongest acts of self-respect you can practice in your life. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are guidelines that protect your peace and show others how to treat you. Many people spend years of their life saying yes to things they don't want to do, staying quiet when they want to speak up, and allowing behaviors that drain them because they are afraid of disappointing someone. Older women who appear unbothered have reached the point where they no longer sacrifice their well-being for the comfort of others. They understand that if you don't set boundaries, people will take as much as you allow, and that's not their fault. It's yours for never drawing the line. When you create boundaries, you are not trying to control other people. You are simply taking control of yourself. You are saying, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't. And if you cross that line, I will respond by protecting myself. That kind of clarity takes away the need to argue, defend, or explain endlessly. Boundaries are not about making people change. They are about you deciding what you will stand for. Older women who have lived through experiences of being used, taken for granted, or ignored have learned that you cannot be unbothered if you are constantly giving in to what everyone else wants. The habit of setting boundaries gives them the power to walk away from situations that do not serve them and stay steady no matter how others react. There is a calmness that comes when you know where you stand and when you are willing to stick to it. Many times people fear setting boundaries because they think it will make others upset. And yes, sometimes it does, but that reaction is just proof that the boundary was necessary. Someone who benefits from you having no boundaries will always resist when you put one up, but over time, the right people will respect it and the wrong people will fade away. That's why older women with boundaries are so unbothered. They no longer waste energy chasing acceptance from those who don't value them. They would rather protect their peace than keep shallow relationships alive. Boundaries are also important because they eliminate the need to constantly explain yourself. Instead of feeling the weight of having to justify why you said no or why you don't agree, the boundary itself becomes the answer. It frees you from overthinking and replaying conversations in your head because you already know where you stand. Older women who practice this don't need to raise their voice to be heard. They simply hold their ground with a calm presence, and that quiet strength communicates more than any argument ever could. That is why people sense that unbothered energy around them. It's not loud, it's steady. This habit also builds trust in yourself. Every time you honor your own boundaries, you are proving to yourself that you can rely on your own word. That kind of self-trust is rare, and it changes how you show up in every part of life. Instead of waiting for others to decide what's acceptable, you decide. Instead of hoping people will treat you right, you show them how to. And if they don't, you don't beg them to change. You simply step back. That's why older women seem to carry a certain peace. They know they don't need to fight for respect because they already gave it to themselves first. And setting boundaries is not just about saying no to others. It's also about saying no to yourself in the moments when you are tempted to give away your peace too easily. It might mean saying no to answering every phone call, no to explaining yourself on repeat, no to overextending when you're exhausted, no to letting guilt make decisions for you. These small acts build up, and before long, your life feels lighter, calmer, and more in your control. That is the energy of someone who is unbothered, not because life is easy, but because they refuse to live without limits. This is why boundaries are a non-negotiable habit for older women who carry themselves with calm strength. They have learned that protecting their peace is more valuable than pleasing everyone. They understand that boundaries don't push people away. They filter out who truly belongs in your life. And because they've lived through the cost of not having them, they no longer hesitate to draw the line. They know that if you don't decide what is acceptable, someone else will. And when you live by someone else's rules, you will always feel drained and unsettled. But when you live by your own, you walk through life unbothered, steady, and free. The third habit that makes older women unbothered is that they prioritize peace over arguments. And this is something many people struggle with for most of their lives. There is a natural urge to defend yourself, to correct someone when they misunderstand you, and to win every debate because it feels like losing if you don't. But what older women have learned is that not every opinion needs a response, and not every disagreement deserves your time. They recognize the cost of constant arguing, and they realize the price is too high because it drains your energy, steals your focus, and rarely changes the mind of the other person. By prioritizing peace, they are not saying they avoid truth or honesty, but they choose their battles wisely and understand that silence can often speak louder than any comeback. This shift comes from experience, from years of noticing that most arguments are not about finding truth, but about proving a point or protecting an ego. When you reach a place where you no longer need to prove yourself to everyone, you start to see the emptiness in endless debates. That is why older women can walk away from a heated conversation without feeling defeated. They know peace is more valuable than being right in the eyes of someone who is committed to misunderstanding them. This doesn't mean they allow disrespect, but they don't let themselves get pulled into every conflict either. They protect their energy by not letting small disagreements turn into big wars, and that makes them appear calm, steady, and untouchable. When you prioritize peace, you learn to listen differently. Instead of waiting to attack back or defend your side, you hear what someone is really saying and decide if it's even worth responding to. Sometimes people argue just to release their own frustration, and joining in only feeds the fire. Older women have learned that their peace is too valuable to throw into every flame that someone else lights. They know that some battles are simply invitations to chaos, and the best answer is to decline. That level of discipline doesn't come overnight, but once you build it, your entire outlook changes because you stop letting every comment or criticism disturb you. Another reason this habit makes them unbothered is that they no longer need to win over people who are determined not to understand them. There will always be those who twist your words, doubt your intentions, or challenge your choices. And if you try to argue with each one, you will spend your whole life drained. By choosing peace, they keep their energy for things that truly matter, like growth, joy, and meaningful relationships. They understand that being calm is not weakness, it is control. It takes more strength to hold back and protect your inner peace than it does to lash out in every conflict. And that quiet strength is what gives them the kind of presence that makes them unshakable in the eyes of others. This habit also creates better relationships because when you stop arguing over every detail, you open the door for more understanding and less tension. Many times, people argue out of insecurity, trying to prove themselves by tearing others down. When someone refuses to join in that pattern, it shifts the whole dynamic. Older women don't let themselves get caught up in ego games. They know who they are, and because of that, they don't need to fight for validation through words. That makes their conversations smoother, their connections healthier, and their environment more peaceful overall. And this isn't because they avoid tough conversations, but because they know the difference between a healthy discussion and a draining argument. When you see someone who doesn't rise to every provocation, you notice their calm. That calm is not accidental. It's a result of choosing peace over and over again. Older women understand that peace doesn't mean the absence of conflict. It means the presence of control within themselves. Even if someone tries to bait them into an argument, they can step back and decide whether it's worth it. That choice is what separates them from those who feel they must respond to everything. They carry themselves differently because they have mastered the art of restraint, and that is why they don't get easily rattled. And by prioritizing peace over arguments, they create space for more important things in life. Instead of spending hours replaying what they should have said or how they could have won a debate, they use that time to focus on growth, joy, and self-care. They understand that peace is not given, it is protected, and every unnecessary argument is a threat to it. So they choose differently. They choose quiet over chaos, calm over noise, and presence over drama. And that choice, repeated day after day, is what makes them truly unbothered. The fourth habit that makes older women unbothered is that they focus on self-care and growth. And this is one of the biggest reasons they carry so much calm strength. For years, many people put themselves last, believing that caring for others while ignoring their own needs is somehow noble. But eventually, they discover that pouring from an empty cup only leaves them drained and resentful. Older women who seem unbothered have learned that self-care is not selfish, it is necessary, and growth is not optional. It is the foundation of a fulfilled life. They prioritize their mental health, their physical well-being, and their emotional balance because they know that when they are steady on the inside, outside noise cannot easily shake them. Self-care for them is not just about spa days or relaxation. It's about making intentional choices that protect their well-being. It might look like getting enough rest instead of pushing themselves to exhaustion, eating in a way that supports their health instead of numbing stress with bad habits, and setting aside time for reflection instead of constantly running on autopilot. Growth for them is about reading, learning, reflecting, and finding new ways to evolve rather than staying stuck in the same patterns. This focus allows them to carry themselves differently because when you know you are investing in yourself every day, you do not feel desperate for someone else to validate you. There is something powerful about a person who takes responsibility for their own happiness instead of outsourcing it to others. Older women who embody this habit don't wait for someone else to make them feel loved, worthy, or valuable. They create that sense of worth from within by treating themselves with respect and care. And because they already give themselves what they need, they are less shaken when others don't. That is what makes them unbothered. They are not depending on someone else's opinion to determine how they feel about themselves. They know they are valuable because they show it in the way they care for their body, their mind, and their spirit. When you practice self-care and growth consistently, you become more resilient. Life will still throw challenges, people will still criticize, and circumstances will still test you, but the difference is in how you respond. Someone who neglects themselves will crumble faster under pressure, but someone who invests in themselves daily will find strength even in the storm. Older women who have made this a habit show that resilience. They bounce back quicker, they stay calmer under stress, and they navigate challenges without losing themselves. That resilience makes them appear unbothered, but in reality, it is the result of years of practicing discipline and putting their well-being first. This habit also changes the way they connect with others. When you take care of yourself and focus on growth, you show up to relationships healthier and more balanced. You're not looking for someone to fix you or fill the gaps you refuse to address, because you've already done the work. That means you can give more authentically, listen more patiently, and love more fully without losing yourself in the process. Older women who live this way are often admired because they radiate strength and calm, and that comes from the deep security of knowing they are taking care of themselves first. Another part of this habit is that growth keeps them humble and curious. Instead of pretending they have it all figured out, they stay open to learning and adapting. That willingness to keep growing gives them a quiet confidence because they know that whatever comes, they can handle it and they can continue to evolve. They are not stuck in old ways of thinking and they are not afraid of change. This adaptability is another reason they are unbothered. Change does not scare them, criticism does not break them, and challenges do not define them. They see everything as part of their growth, and that perspective keeps them steady when others would crumble. And the truth is, this focus on self-care and growth makes them magnetic. People can sense when someone is at peace with themselves, when they are grounded, and when they are not desperate for outside approval. That kind of presence draws respect without having to demand it. It is not about arrogance, it is about balance, and it comes from years of choosing to invest in themselves rather than neglect themselves. This is why older women who embrace this habit walk through life differently. They know that peace and growth are choices they make daily, and by choosing them, they protect their energy and remain unbothered by everything around them. The fifth habit that makes older women unbothered is that they let go of comparison, and this is one of the most freeing decisions anyone can make. Comparison is a trap that robs people of joy and peace, because no matter how much you achieve or how good your life looks, there will always be someone who appears to be doing better. Older women who carry themselves with calm strength have realized that measuring their worth against someone else's story is a waste of time. They understand that everyone's path is different, and the moment you stop competing with others, you start living fully in your own lane. That shift is what creates a sense of ease and makes them unbothered by the success, the noise, or the opinions of everyone else. When you live in comparison, you constantly feel behind, as if life is a race and you are losing. You start to measure yourself by timelines that were never yours to begin with. Marriage by a certain age, career by a certain stage, family, looks, status, or lifestyle that fit into someone else's picture of success. Older women who have learned to let go of that pressure no longer live chained to unrealistic standards. They have seen that the person you envy often envies someone else, and the cycle never ends. So instead of wasting their energy looking sideways, they focus forward, knowing that the only life they are responsible for is their own. This habit is powerful because it builds contentment. When you let go of comparison, you actually see what you already have instead of only noticing what you lack. Contentment does not mean settling, it means appreciating the present while still working toward growth. Older women who practice this habit radiate calm because they don't feel the need to prove themselves through external markers of success. They don't chase status symbols, they don't compete for attention, and they don't measure their worth by likes or recognition. That quiet assurance creates a steady presence that others can sense, and it's why they appear so unbothered. Another reason this habit works is that comparison keeps you stuck in other people's stories, while letting it go brings you back to your own. Older women who have dropped comparison no longer ask if they are better or worse than someone else. They ask if they are better than the version of themselves they used to be. That shift turns envy into inspiration and insecurity into motivation. Instead of feeling small in the shadow of someone else's success, they use it as proof of what is possible while still honoring their own pace. That perspective makes them stronger, calmer, and more focused on progress rather than distraction. Comparison also breeds unnecessary conflict. People who are stuck in it often tear others down to feel better, or they burn themselves out trying to keep up with someone else's image. Letting go of it removes that pressure. Older women who embody this habit don't need to compete because they already feel secure in themselves. They can celebrate others without feeling less, and they can stand tall without having to push anyone down. That's what makes their presence refreshing. They are not playing a hidden game of one-upmanship. They live in a way that proves they know their worth, and nothing outside of them can change it. When you stop comparing, you also stop rushing. So much of stress comes from feeling like you are behind some invisible timeline, but older women who release comparison are free from that pressure. They know life does not have to look the same for everyone, and they no longer waste time chasing approval through achievement. They move at their own pace, choose their own path, and find peace in their own rhythm. That's why they appear calm and confident no matter what season they are in, because they know they are exactly where they are meant to be. And perhaps the most freeing part of this habit is that letting go of comparison allows you to finally enjoy your life as it is. You notice the beauty in the small things, the progress you've made, and the moments you used to overlook when you were too busy looking at someone else's journey. Older women who have embraced this live lighter, freer, and calmer because they are no longer competing in a race that doesn't exist. They know that comparison steals peace, and peace is too valuable to give away. That's why they remain unbothered, because they are living their own story fully, without distraction, without pressure, and without the need to measure themselves against anyone else.